So, Jimmy, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Robbie, I've been waiting for this. I really appreciate you having me on, my friend.
Of course, anytime, anytime. So, I want to take this back pretty far just to kick us off here because I really need to know what made you say, I'm going to be a rock and roll guitarist.
Oh man, that's great. Well, honestly, Robbie, I played a lot of other instruments before I even took up the guitar, and I mean, I'm talking as far back as um, in my early days. I played the stand-up bass throughout all of my school years in the orchestra, and I played a little bit of keyboards. I tried trumpet a little bit, and then I had a fascination for drums,
Hmm.
and I got really good on drums. It was somewhere between the ages of 10 and 13. Uh, I actually had won a scholarship from the Hartford Conservatory of Music for drums.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and but it was all rudiments, snare drum stuff, because I was playing with an orchestra. But I had a drum set, and the guys would, I was in, junior high, and the high school kids would come over and jam. Well, one day, this guitar player, and now you're talking, I'm 66, so I'm talking in the 70s here.
Hmm.
The guitar player left his guitar out, just leaning against the amp. And after he left, I'm left-handed, so I picked up his guitar, held it left-handed. The strings are all upside down. I turned the amp on, and he had this old 1970s Big Muff fuzz, and
Hmm.
the 70s Big Muff fuzzes were just amazing. Um, so I hit this low E string on it, and I started just messing around, and I just fell in love with the guitar instantly. And then from that point on, I dropped the drums and gave up my scholarship and everything
Oh,
and went
wow.
into playing guitar. Yeah, it was. It took me over like crazy. So at the end of, right at the beginning of age 14, is when I started, and I was so obsessed with it. I mean, I always have been, still am. About
Hmm.
practicing and trying to be perfect of everything. Um, I wanted to be a guitar player. I wanted to perform in front of people. I used to put on records and stand up in front of my mirror with a guitar and pretend I was playing for audiences. All kinds of crazy stuff. But that's what I wanted to do from the
Hmm.
very early age. So that being said, I put in so much time on the guitar that my skills developed really fast. So I was actually outperforming in clubs at age 16.
Okay.
So yeah, so I started there, and I just kept going and going. So my fascination in as far as playing in front of a live audience started very, very early for me. And really playing guitar is, with the exception of a couple other things I know how to do, guitar is really the only thing I've ever done all of my life. I mean, playing live, recording, touring, doing music is all I've ever done, basically. I've worked in a music store a little bit, but, playing and touring and recording has always been my thing.
Wow, that's incredible. And I mean, clearly it worked out well for you. And which leads me to my next question, which I was dying to ask you about, is in 1986, you were actually in a Michael J. Fox movie.
Yes, I
Uh,
was. I was in a band called Join Forces, and we were a local band, but we were a really big local band. We were the only local band that was decided to do all original music. There were
mm,
bands that did some original music and some covers, but we took a chance and did an hour and a half set of all original music. We would always have two bands opening for us.
mhm.
We would go on at 11:30 at night. I can never do those hours anymore, but but it was one of those things where we did it, and we caught the attention of a gentleman that worked in Joan Jett's camp, and he was starting his own management company, and staying on with Joan Jett's label. So he had a partner that owned a fleet of tour buses. I mean, the guy rented them out to Motley Crue and everybody in the 80s. They were beautiful buses.
Hmm.
And he decided they were going to put us out on tour with Joan Jett to do an East Coast tour. Now, we only had a 3-song cassette to our name, and so they put us out on tour. Obviously, we didn't make any money, but we were in our 20s. We didn't care. I was on a tour bus, and we got enough money to eat every day, and we were, just going mental, and all of Joan's band and crew rode on our bus because we were the party bus, and it was one of those things. But I was fortunate enough. I was the only one in the band that this happened to as well. I was fortunate enough to become friends with Joan
Mm.
and get to kind of hang with her occasionally. I remember, in fact, I was the only one that has a photo of her and I together that she would allow to have a photo with back then. So I have
Mm.
a great picture of Joan and I backstage at a show we did. And then after the tour ended, we heard about the Joan Jett, Michael J. Fox movie.
Hmm.
And we were up for it, but we had to still submit pictures to the producer, the director, and everything. But we got picked.
Oh, wow.
And next thing you know, I'm out in Chicago filming our scene in it. Now, what our scene was, we were portraying a heavy metal band, almost like I want to say a Kiss type band, because when we
Mm.
were in makeup. We had to be in makeup at 4 a.m. They were, I was always kind of pale anyway, but they were putting extra white makeup on me, so we're supposed to kind of look like that. And of course, it was the 80s, so they had my hair out as far as it could possibly be. And we were called the Huns in the movie. So the storyline goes Michael J. Fox and Joan Jett are in a band together.
Hmm.
She gets an offer from the Huns to leave and join up with us. And the scene that we are in is when Michael comes to see his sister, because they're brother and sister in the movie, comes
Hmm.
to see his sister on stage performing with us. And that was a really, really interesting thing, Robby, to do. I've never done anything in a real motion picture type setting, but they had the record plant mobile truck
Hmm.
outside of the club. We recorded the song. The song was called Rabbit's Got the Gun. It's on the soundtrack album as well. We did the soundtrack album. They did about 8 to 10 takes of it.
Hmm.
They went through them and picked the one that they wanted. And then they let all the extras in. So once they had that take, they let all the extras in. And we had to perform to the take that they picked. Now, I'm one of these guitar players that never plays the same thing twice. I'm like that. It's just I like to just go for it. So, and this was in the 80s, so there was no such thing as in ears or any of that
Yeah.
stuff. They blasted the song through this PA and monitors, and I had to be very cautious to move my hands where I felt they were going on the fretboard and during the song, because nothing makes me more insane than to see a video of a band playing when you could definitely hear the guitar player playing way up here, but his hands are down here. That makes me insane.
Yeah.
So
Oh, man, that's fantastic.
yeah, it was a great experience. Unfortunately, it was a great movie.
Mhm.
Uh, but the audience had a hard time, with it, because it was the first serious role that Michael J. Fox ever did, and
Mm.
they wanted him to always be, Back to the Future, that
Yeah.
type of thing, Family Ties. You get it.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. But from there, so the that movie was in '86, but in '87, you actually auditioned for Ozzy, right?
Yes, I did. Now I was endorsed by Kramer Guitars, and Kramer Guitars was the biggest guitar company in the 80s. And how that happened was uh, the gentleman Floyd Rose, who invented the Floyd Rose tremolo,
Right.
was doing, was going around to stores and doing, demos and everything. So the store that I was associated with in my area asked if I could do a demonstration when Floyd Rose was in town. So I got together with a drummer and a bass player, and we did a clinic. And
Mm.
I demoed a lot of the Floyd Rose and played a bunch of songs. And when I got done, Floyd Rose said to me, "Now I want to tell you something real quick before I go any further.
Mhm.
They gave me a Kramer guitar, but being left-handed, they didn't even have a left-handed Floyd Rose yet. I had to go to a machine shop and have a hole drilled on the other side of the plate. So I was actually using a right-handed Floyd Rose with a hole drilled, just so I could use the Floyd Rose.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they didn't even have a lefty one yet.
Wow.
So I do the clinic. Floyd is very impressed, and he says, "You should have an endorsement with Kramer." And I said, and of course Eddie Van Halen is their big artist, and
Yeah.
then they had all these other guys that were all on Kramer as well. I said that's would be the greatest thing in the world. So next thing you know, Dennis Berardi, who was the president of Kramer Guitars at the time, comes to the store, and he comes up to me. He says, "I understand I owe you an endorsement." And I was like, "Oh my God." I go, "Yeah, thank you so much." So next thing you know, I'm getting all these guitars from Kramer. They fly us out to NAMM. We're performing at NAMM with Van Halen and all the, Jeff Beck and all these big Kramer Duncan jams. Seymour Duncan and Kramer sponsored this big NAMM thing. So I did it twice. And next thing I find out is that Dennis Berardi wants to manage me,
Mm.
because I didn't have a record deal at the time, but he felt that me playing his guitars, that he could do something for me. So I get a call from him on a Wednesday, and he says, "Jimmy, Jakey Lee is out of Ozzy. We sent your video to Sharon Osbourne, and she wants to see you." And I said, "Oh my God, really?" I said, "This is fantastic." I go, "When am I going? Next week?" He goes, "No, today. Your flight is booked right now. You have to get to the airport." Now, I was in a cover band for a little bit and knew a few Ozzy songs, but not, just enough to go, get through. Now, they had already started working with Zach.
Mm.
So that was one issue. In fact, that's where I had met Zach and we became friends, was out there. He came to my hotel room, we jammed, and and Zach didn't look anything like he looks now. He's a real pretty boy,
Yeah, yeah.
back then. So when I flew in, they picked me up, Ozzy's driver. He brings me over to the studio, and I had to audition with Phil Suzanne and Randy Castillo,
Mm.
not Ozzy.
Mhm.
But Sharon Osbourne came to my audition with those guys and sat there and watched me play.
Mm.
So I did so well. As a matter of fact, that's how all the guitar players auditioned, because Ozzy wasn't going to sit through all of that. It was,
Right.
the drummer and the bass player that had to do it all. So Sharon was there, loved the way I played, and says, "Okay, tomorrow you're going to play with Ozzy."
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, the next day, I go to a whole different studio with a big stage, rehearsal studio out in California. And in comes Ozzy. And this is when he had just shaved his head, and he
Mhm.
had that big dragon tattoo. He had just gotten that on his chest, or demon, whatever it is right there. Um, and I tell this a lot because you see Ozzy in videos, you see him in magazines, whatever. It's nowhere near the same as when Ozzy's coming up to your face like this. Yeah, it's a whole different thing, Robbie. I got to tell you, it's wild. So there was this one other guy. I don't know who he was. I still don't know to this day. He was from Sweden, this
Mhm.
guitar player. He happened to be able to go up and do an audition. So they take him up before me.
Mhm.
So I'm sitting with Sharon, and they're doing Flying High Again.
Hmm.
Now, this guitar player is from Sweden. And this is right about the time Yngwie Malmsteen is getting very, very huge in
Okay.
the guitar world. So this guitar player, being from Sweden, idolizing Yngwie, they're doing Flying High Again. And when it came time for the signature Randy Rhoads tapping descending line in that solo, coming down backwards, this kid decided to sweep it in arpeggios, going like like a sweep thing, like Yngwie. And I'm telling the truth. Ozzy was all of a sudden his eyes changed, and he stood behind a guy making like he was strangling him like this, and the guy doesn't know this, and then making like he's stabbing him with a dagger and everything. The kid turns around and Ozzy gives him the thumbs up, like, "Hey, great job." So, I mean, you got to keep in mind, I'm sitting here watching all this. I'm going, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
So I knew not to go too far off of, what, Randy had played on, or
Hmm.
whatever. So I go up, and the first song I do is "I Don't Know." So I start off, and I had a really good groove locked in with the guys.
Hmm.
And I could see Ozzy as I'm playing and the song kicks in. I'm sure you've seen him a bunch. He does this thing with the mic. He rocks
Yep.
back and forth on the stage. He started to do that. And then he was, really digging it. And then when I did the solo section for the song, he got right down in front of the amp and listened to me play. So I did about 5 songs
Hmm.
and a guitar solo by myself. I had to, just jam. And then he wanted me to just jam a riff with the guys. So we started jamming on some kind of like, heavy blues riff or
Uh-huh.
something. And afterwards, Sharon and Ozzy sat down with me and said, "Well, it's between you and Zach."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it got down between him and I. So they took me out to dinner.
Hmm.
I went to this very expensive, exclusive restaurant with Ozzy's entourage. I mean, everybody in there had suits on and everything. And
Oh,
here it
wow.
walks in Ozzy and everything. So yeah, we're sitting there. Um, and the salads come. I always have to tell this. The salads came, and I didn't eat cherry tomatoes at the time. So Ozzy's sitting right here next to me, and I said, "Would you like my tomatoes?" And he's no, no, no. And so I'm talking to Randy over here, and
Hmm.
I see out of the corner of my eyes that Ozzy's hands go into my salad and start eating my salad with his hands. It's all good, man. And so Sharon got him out of there.
Mm.
And then we go back to Ozzy's. It wasn't a hotel; it was like a bungalow or a something off a Sunset Strip.
Mhm.
Some kind of chalet, whatever he was staying at. And that's where I met Amy Osborne. She was just a baby, the one that did not uh, participate in the Osborne show, the oldest daughter.
Mm. Mhm.
So I'm sitting on the couch. Ozzy's sitting in a chair with Amy on his lap. So we have MTV on, and all of a sudden, Black Sabbath's Paranoid comes on MTV. And he starts bouncing Amy up and down. Look, Dad, look, there's Daddy, Amy. Look, like that. It was a cute moment.
Oh, that's awesome.
But anyways, after that, I found out that they, obviously they stayed with Zach, and that was um, a really tough thing for me, as you can imagine. I mean,
Mhm.
to get that close, between the two of us, that was tough. It's, I always say it's like the Miss America pageant. One person gets the crown, the other is just the runner-up.
Mhm. Mhm.
But later on, about a month later, I get a phone call. This is before cell phones and everything, so I'm talking like a landline. And there's this English gentleman on the phone, and he says, "Hey, my name is Terry. Um, I got your videotape from Sharon and I'm putting together a new project, and I'd like you to come out. I'd like to get together with you if you're interested and stuff. And I said, well, who is this again? And he goes, Terrence Butler. And I'm going, Terrence Butler. And I went, oh my God, this is Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath. I go, my favorite bass player in the world. It didn't, click because he didn't introduce himself as Geezer. He went by his real name.
Yeah.
So next thing I know, he flies me to St. Louis. He had a home there. I think his wife's family and everything was from St. Louis, Gloria's family. Worked with him a little bit. Next thing I know, I'm on a plane to London. And we start rehearsing and doing all this stuff and writing. So that was a blast.
Wow.
Working with Geezer.
So that actually, I was going to ask if that directly related to you joining the Geezer Butler Band. But now, is it also true that you wrote the music for Master of Insanity for Black Sabbath?
Yes. So we had two different rehearsal studios at the time. I went back and forth to England 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
First, we were in this place called Tatco or something right in downtown London. Big studio, place where like Paul McCartney would rehearse and everything. One day, I got to tell you this real quick.
Mm-hmm.
One day, I'm in the kitchen of this, they had a big kitchen area, and in walks Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols. You want to talk about a scary dude, Johnny Rotten, man, when he's coming, like he's right there with you. That was a really freaky thing. That was insane. But the second place that we went was an old Air Force base that they converted into rehearsal rooms. So they had a recording studio there. You stayed there. They had catering. There was a pub right down the road. You never left the area.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I'm in the studio and Geezer comes up to me and says, do you have, now keep in mind, he's trying to write something a little bit more commercial, and which he did. He was something a little more keyboard orientated, but heavy still.
Mm-hmm.
He says to me, do you have a song that's kind of like a Black Sabbath song? And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I do. I said, I've been working on this song. And I said, I even have a title. I said, now keep in mind, I don't write lyrics. I don't write, melodies or anything like that. But I had this title in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I just used in a title called Master of Insanity. So I played him the whole song. He loved it. I said, I'd like it to start off with the bass, just doing this riff. And I played him the boom, 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 boom,
Mm-hmm.
boom, 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 boom. So so we decided to record the song, and we did. So later on, when things just didn't happen, we had gotten signed, by the way. This is another typical story. We had gotten signed to a label,
Okay.
a U.S. label. So I get a call from Gloria Butler, and she says, Jimmy, as you know, Black Sabbath's getting back together with Ronnie Dio.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some wonderful news. We're going to use your song, Master of Insanity, on the brand new Black Sabbath record. And, here, I'm thrilled. I'm going, this is incredible. She goes, but we have one problem. And I said, well, of course there's a problem. There always is. She says, we can't give you songwriting credit because Tony Iommi will never allow a song by another guitar player on a Black Sabbath record. So we have to say Geezer wrote it. And what was I going to do? It wasn't like I was going to fight these people and do anything. She says, look, Geezer's putting you in his special thanks. You will, and we will pay you at the end of the tour. We'll pay you for the song. So the record comes out. My song gets mentioned a lot as a good track on a record.
Yeah.
Not only is it a good track, they actually perform it live in their set. So in other words, it wasn't just a filler song.
Right.
They actually included it in their set. I went and saw them live a couple times, and it was just crazy to hear my song being played by Black Sabbath with Ronnie Dio singing it. That was the most mind-blowing thing in the world because Ronnie was my favorite singer.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
so, you know, later, so all these books were written about Black Sabbath. There's a ton of them, but
Hmm.
I'm included in a lot of the books. There's many books where I mention people knowing I wrote the song and everything. And finally, one time I met up with Ronnie. He after he left Sabbath again and went out on his solo thing. He was playing locally, and I had an opportunity to go talk to him.
Mm.
So I walk up to him and I said, "Hey Ronnie, my name is Jimmy Bell," and he points at me. He goes, "Jimmy Bell, Master of Insanity."
Oh
And I
wow.
and I said, "You know?" He goes, "Yep." He goes, "We all know. I know you wrote the song." He goes, "I told them to pay you, and I have no idea what the big deal was about that. Why they couldn't have just paid you for the song or whatever. It didn't make a difference to me,
Hmm.
you know. I yeah, because I never got paid
Oh
even at the end of the
wow.
tour. Yeah, no, I never got anything. Not that I was
Wow.
expecting it.
Yeah.
I wasn't. No, I really wasn't. I knew that I wasn't going to ever get anything. It's they got what they wanted, but and I was no animosity. I'm just very grateful my song's out there. But
Hmm.
um, the best thing is a book came out where Ronnie was interviewed,
Hmm.
and in that book, they ask about lyric writing,
Hmm.
and that's where Ronnie says the only song that I didn't contribute to lyric wise was the song "Master of Insanity." And that was written by a guitarist named Jimi Bell, and Geezer wrote the lyrics for that. And I absolutely loved the song.
Hmm.
So Ronnie said that in a book, which I have a copy of.
Oh yeah, I
And
would too.
yeah, of course, yeah, I got that page circled. Uh, and then later on, I was very grateful about this. Last year, I think it
Hmm.
was when Geezer came out with his book.
Hmm.
Geezer mentions it twice in there that I co-wrote the song with him.
Oh, that's great.
So
That's
he
great.
finally admitted it, and I think he kind of had to because Ronnie already admitted it. So
Hmm.
and I know we've only met each other once, but I'm a real honest person.
Hmm.
If I say that I wrote this song, I mean, you'd have to be pretty out of your mind to say I wrote a song that's on a Black Sabbath record. You have to
Yeah.
be, and not really, not it really not happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's
But
great.
yeah, so it's a cool thing. I'm very honored to have that, and more
Hmm.
more honored that I have a song that Ronnie Dio sang on. That's totally amazing.
That's great. And we're talking about a lot of things that happened in the 80s here, and so this is a great segue because I just got a text message from somebody saying, "Hi Jimmy," and that would be Roxy Petrucci. And
I love her.
since we're talking about the 80s and all this stuff, and she just texted me to say hello to you, when did you first meet Roxy and Maxine? Because I know you've known them for a very long time.
Oh my God, it's been years since I've known them. And I got to tell you, I mean, what an incredibly wonderful person Roxy is, and Maxine is the same way.
Yeah.
Um, always, always treats me wonderful, like gold. She's just that type of person. Um, Years ago, I think it was like 1982.
Mm.
Now I live in Connecticut,
Yes.
and there was this. Um, in New Haven, Connecticut, they had an Agora ballroom, and we had one in Hartford and one in New Haven. Big places, but the one in New Haven was set up. I think it was an old movie theater because the seats were staggered,
Mm.
like that. So there was the stage, and then it starts low and gets higher towards the back. That type of seating, anyway. Um, a buddy of mine says, "Hey, there's this band, Madam X, playing. We got to go see him." So we went to the Agora, and all of a sudden I see Max. First off, I didn't know there were girls in the band playing.
Mm. Hmm.
Um, Next thing I see is Roxy and Maxine, and Roxy's beating the hell out of these drums, and I'm just sitting there going, "Oh my God!" And Maxine is tearing apart the guitar. She has three, I believe, she had three stacks of Marshalls, definitely two, but she might have had three up there at the time as well. I never seen anything like this, and I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe Sebastian might have been on vocals because Sebastian Bach did sing with Madam X for a while.
He did, but he did not sing in the band when Roxy was in the band.
Oh, okay. So then it wasn't Sebastian that I saw. But my God, that band floored me. I never seen anything like that. And afterwards, um, I wasn't expecting to get to talk with them,
Hmm.
but we ended up chatting for quite a while. And well, we just hit off a friendship that has lasted literally since 1982,
Wow.
and never forgot each other, and you know everything else. I mean, it's just a wonderful thing um, that has managed to hang on all these years. And I love every time I've gotten to do shows with Vixen. We've always been a great package together, like
Hmm.
especially if we do Slaughter, Vixen, and Autograph, Autograph Beyond. I got to say it correctly now. Um, yeah, politically correct anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a good thing when we have been paired up together, which is great because I get to see them and there's never any trouble. We always get along. It's just that type of environment. Of course, we're all older too. I mean, we're not kids where we're battling for the stage or battling for, it's like we're just happy to be playing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned in there that you're based in Connecticut, which is actually where I met you. And I wanted to bring up now, does that have anything to do with or any correlation to you writing music with WWE?
Yeah, well, I was in a local band playing. I'm always trying to keep musically playing any way I can make money. I
Hmm.
was playing at this club not too far up, kind of near the Bradley Airport, actually, the same town as the Bradley International Airport. And doorman comes up to me afterwards and says, "Man, I love your guitar playing." He says, you would do great down where I work at my second job." I go, "Where do you work?" He goes, I work at the WWE. I flipped out because I was a huge wrestling fan. I had followed wrestling all through the 80s. I'm
Oh,
talking,
wow.
the whole thing, the Hogan, the Andre, the Ultimate Warrior, all of them, all the, Macho Man, all the superstars from that era were, still today some of my favorites that, because they kind of paved the way for everybody, a
Oh,
lot of
yeah,
times.
absolutely.
Yeah. And so he takes a videotape of me down to the music director, Jim Johnston.
Yeah.
And literally one day after he got that tape, I get a call from Jim's associate, the
Hmm.
guy that I want to say secretary, but his assistant. He says, "Hey, this is Daryl down at the WWE, and we want you to come down, and Jim wants you to play on something." And so the WWE for me, now they had the corporate building, which that just moved further across the street, further down into something bigger. But the
Hmm.
old corporate building was, as you're heading south, was on the left side of the street. But I would get off um, the exit and go around the corner where they had the TV studios. They had a separate building where they did the TV, putting the chair noises and all that stuff in the recording studio, all of that done right there. So it was an amazing thing. I walk in, I meet Jim Johnston the first time, and this guy is all business. I mean, great guy, but he's on a time thing. So I went down on a Monday,
Hmm.
and that is whatever I was doing that morning was going to be aired Monday night on Raw, or
Oh,
if I
wow.
went on a Tuesday, it was going to be on. I think it was at first. I think maybe SmackDown was on Friday at one time, but
Yeah.
either Tuesday or Friday they changed. They moved SmackDown. I forgot what it was first.
Yeah.
So I go into a studio. No sooner am I just taking my guitar out of the case and small talk. He's saying, "Okay, this is what we got to do." Boom, boom, boom. He's playing me the track. Now he usually had all the rhythm guitars done,
Hmm.
but anytime they wanted some crazy leads thrown into their songs, he would have me come down. Sometimes I would redo all the rhythms. He'd have me do everything, whatever he
Hmm.
wanted me to do. And I would get a set pay, whether I was there 15 minutes, 10 minutes, a half hour, an hour. No, it would be always the same thing. I'd have to sign off on
Hmm.
the song as well. Um, so we played, and the first thing I did was for Edge.
Hmm.
And um, I play it. It was a new theme. I get home so excited because Edge was coming out that night. And when he came out, he was using the old thing. And I was just like crushed, the other song that he always used. And I called Jim. I called down there. I said, "Did I do a bad job or something?" He goes, "No, no." He says, "This happens all the time." He says, "The wrestler, they just decide what they want to do. Has nothing to do with you." He
Hmm.
says, "This happens constantly." I said, "Okay." But what's even funnier is the track I did for Edge is now on YouTube. So the song, if you type in WWE Jimmy Bell Edge, the theme I did is on there. So that's pretty cool. A lot of the entrance music that I played on. So I did countless numbers. One of the ones that I really liked um, was for the Miz. This is when they were first bringing out the Miz, and it was a fast song. It wasn't. A lot of times the wrestlers' songs, their entrance music is plotting. Dun, 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 because that's what it's about.
Yeah.
so 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 I mean, that's what it is. So sometimes it's that, but sometimes it's a real fast moving thing. I get, sometimes I remember doing some tracks for a guy. I forgot who he was that did a lot of flips off the ring. Did a lot of air things. So he would come running out. So his theme was more, fast because that's how he entered the ring.
Yeah.
That type of stuff. So Miz I did. Mrs. Track is on the internet, and they let me
Mhm.
do this crazy two-handed tapping thing right at the middle, at the entrance of the song,
Yeah.
and it sounds great. And then there's a whole bunch of other wrestlers that were in it for a short period of time. This big, massive guy named Snitsky. I did a
Oh, yeah.
really good, yeah. I did a really good track for him. His entrance music, that's on there. I even did. I don't know if you remember. Uh, um, Eugene. It was supposed to
Yeah.
be William Regal's, disturbed nephew or
Yes.
something, or something. Yeah, I did his. I did for the also for the Hart Foundation when they
Hmm.
brought Brett back. I redid his theme,
Oh, that
and
was you. Okay.
yeah, and to this day, Natalie Hart, uh, Natalia. I'm sorry, is it Natalie or Natalia? Either way, she still uses it when she
Yeah.
walks to the ring. And I also there was a tag team called M&M for a while. John Morrison
John
and,
Morrison.
yeah. So I did their entrance music. And it was this, they had the manager, the girl, Marlena, I think.
Yep.
Okay.
Melina.
So, yeah, she ended up being women's champion and
Hmm.
still kept my music.
Hmm.
So she would come out to that. And then I did a separate theme for John
Hmm.
uh, well, more of a cool rock thing for him as well. So, but countless things for SmackDown too. Tag team champions. I mean, I
Hmm.
wish I could remember all of them. I did the Diva Search when they did
Oh,
the first Diva Search thing. I played on that. I actually even performed on one of their pay-per-view events. I did the entrance music for that. So that I mean, there's been countless stuff I've done for the WWE, and it's all wonderful. That was some of my uh, greatest times, and I actually was doing it right up to the point where Jim was either released or whatever it was, which was
Hmm.
in 2015,
Mm.
something like that. So that was sad because I really enjoyed doing that. Uh, Baron, Baron, someone begins with
Oh,
a C.
Baron Corbin.
Yeah, that was the last theme I did.
Oh, the Lone Wolf theme.
Yeah, that was the
Mm.
last. That's the last thing I did for Jim, because we actually did that at Jim's house in the
Oh, okay.
studio. Yeah, Jim still had access to the, the checkbook and whatever, and so we did that there. It's really too bad, uh, in this business, corporate and everything is, gets pretty crazy. It's really sad that whatever happened, whatever takeover happened there. But Jim was there since the early days,
Hmm.
right from the early, writing themes right off the bat when they were first, kicking it, getting started.
Yeah.
So, when I hear stories about people getting replaced that have been there forever, putting their life into something, it's sad. But you know what? Jim's got so many uh, awards. I
Hmm.
mean, his studio is all from, every time, you got to keep in mind every time one of his themes was played, he's getting paid.
Right.
TV, records. I'm on a couple of the WWE records as well.
Oh, wow. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, the releases.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I'm
do WWE the music.
the music. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm on a couple of those as well.
Oh,
So
that's great. That's cool. And the Hart Dynasty, the redo of Bret Hart's theme. That's become an iconic theme in itself, and you were on that. So
yeah, yeah, they had me do this really cool um,
yeah.
thing, a noise right at the beginning of it, which was made. They wanted to be a little bit different right off the bat. So yeah, I remember doing something for the Generation X. I had to
Mm.
do something. There was so many. I wish if I had known, if I was smart enough back then, I should have wrote down everybody that, as I got home, made a list.
Hmm.
But I did find all my pay stubs from the other day. I was going through a box, and whenever I got a check, I saved the top part of the check, so I had a good stack of them from when I did work for them, which was great. Great experience.
That's
That
cool.
studio, by the way, I don't know. I know you've done some work with them, but I
Yeah.
don't know if you ever went to the studio,
Mm-mm.
the recording studio. They had everything. I mean, whatever Jim wanted, they got it. They had gotten
Wow.
this count. They had a console that went from one side of the room all the way. I mean, the thing was a massive room. All these speakers, all a recording room that had nothing but the greatest stuff all through it. Drum, all kinds of gear.
Wow.
So yeah, it was great.
That's excellent. And I got to throw out too, because you mentioned Snitsky and Eugene, and I've done shows with both of them, and they're awesome guys. So it's really funny, like small world, because now
Oh
here
my
I am
God.
talking to you, and I've done shows with them. So just a small world.
Yeah, they when they introduced him back then, they were trying to do something with him and Lita. I remember, and
Hmm.
just the going against. I keep forgetting his name. The guy with the fire there.
Oh, Kane. Yeah, yeah.
Kane. Yeah, I guess it was something after Kane had taken off his mask. It was a
Yes.
strip right or something. But um, very, I loved it there. Like I said, for me, regardless, it's one of those things where I actually would have went down there, and if they even said, well, there's no money, but you'll be doing, I would have said, no problem, no
Yeah.
problem. Because that's how much I loved it. And um I would always get, every time there was an event like at the Hartford Civic Center or Springfield or anything close to me, they would always give me tickets, and I'd be sitting
Mm.
at ringside. And when you're sitting in the arena, and all of a sudden your music comes on over the speakers, you hear yourself playing guitar over that. I mean, the chill that I got was just amazing. I mean, it was just one of those things. And to think that uh, millions and millions of people all over the world are actually for that few moments that they're using an intro are hearing your guitar playing all over the world. I mean, overseas, everywhere, you
Hmm.
know. So
and
it's
and still are, because a lot of those wrestling fans, they have the WWE the music volumes, and they go back and they watch the old matches and their favorite wrestlers, and they're hearing that over and over and over again. And the Natalia's still using yours, and she's on television weekly. You know.
yeah. So it's a good thing. I'm thrilled that I actually had the opportunity. You know.
Mhm. No, absolutely. Now,
I'm going to write your theme next. Here we go.
yeah, 100%. I love that. I love
Absolutely.
that. You know, it's funny too, because the guys that are responsible for my current entrance theme are guys that you know, Bad Marriage.
Oh, no
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah,
Oh, wonderful guys. Yeah,
yep.
man.
So it's again small world. Like everybody's like so connected, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I got to start.
I wish we had had an opportunity to hang out a little more when we got to meet. Next time, we'll have to,
Absolutely.
yeah, make it a point.
Absolutely, because I feel like we have so much to talk about and so much more to talk about. And in fact, like even though I got to start wrapping this up, I want to, just give you an open invite to come back on the show whenever you want, whenever you can, even if it's for discussing, we do album breakdowns and other bands. If you just want to jump in on any of that, you're more than welcome to come back on.
Oh, I would love to come back on with you. I'm having a blast. Yeah, just know that the new House of Lords record's coming out. I've been with that band since 2005, and they're playing it on Hair Nation, which is blowing my mind.
And it's a great
Like,
song.
yeah, they're playing the title track on there, and I'm just kind of like very pleased that some new music is playing because House of Lords, every time they play something on Hair Nation, it's always "Can't Find My Way Home," which was their, big one of their big songs. But now they're playing this, and I,
Hmm.
I was thrilled. And we're looking to go out on tour, but I've done 10 records with them since 2005. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so Frontiers, that's a lot of music that I've written. Like I said, I
Yeah.
don't do lyrics, but that's an awful lot of music.
Yeah.
Frontiers feels that this is the best record that we've ever done since I joined the band, anyway, in 2005. So we shall see. And of course, Autograph Beyond is starting to do shows again. So that's, whatever we could do to keep
Now,
going.
are you also? I just want to touch on this really quick before I have you plug your social medias and that. But you're in still with Beyond Purple.
Oh, I love that band.
Yep.
Yeah, Mike Gill, one of the greatest singers, man. That guy could sing anything. He really is. We cover Beyond Purple real quick is the Deep Purple family tree. It was a concept I came up with. I wanted to do there's so much that branched off of Deep Purple, Rainbow, White Snake, and then you
Mhm.
keep in mind all the singers that were in Rainbow, Dio, Joe Lynn Turner, Graham Bonnet. All these guys had all these separate projects off of that. So
Yes.
we do all popular songs too. No deep cuts. I like doing songs that at least everybody knows from those bands.
Yeah.
It's a great band. If you ever get an opportunity to see Beyond Purple, I'd love to have you because it really, really is a killer band.
I would absolutely love to, and I have seen you with Autograph Beyond. I'm sorry,
That's
and
okay.
um, and
I'm still getting used to it. Yeah.
and it was amazing, of course. And I'm thrilled that you wanted to come on the show, and I'm looking forward to have you on again and to seeing you again. So before you get out of here, can you just tell people where to follow you on social media so they can keep up with everything you're doing because you're a busy guy.
Yeah, I'm on, Facebook and Instagram. I always post everything. Um, my page is just very I try to make it as close to public as possible. It was really hard, especially with all the t-shirt scamming things that are going on. It's
Mm,
like every 2 seconds people are saying, "Oh, Jimmy, you got cloned again. They're selling your t-shirt." It's like,
yep.
please, enough. It's like ridiculous. But anyways, yeah, I'm on Facebook, Instagram. My website is jimibell.com, JIMIBELL.com, just in case you don't know how to spell the way that I spell Jimmy Bell. Just think of Hendrix. That's how I do it. I'm left-handed. That's what I stole it from. Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of. I took it. Although Richie Blackmore was my main guitar player. Johnny Winter, Richie Blackmore, Al Di Meola. Those are my three guitar players that influenced my style
Oh
back then.
wow.
So, yeah.
Well, Jimmy, thanks so much for being here again, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in person sometime soon again. And let's just chat and see what else we have in common.
Yeah, man. I'll come on with you anytime. We could talk about the rest of my life. It's all insane.
Oh, I would love to because I feel like we just started to scratch the surface. So I would absolutely do a part two if you were willing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do it with you. And please give my best to Roxy, okay?
Will
Absolutely
do.
love her. All right.
All right, I'll see you next time.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much for everything.